How about now? You there? I can't hear you. Yes, sir. I am, and we're live on the air. Welcome, everybody. Hello, Cliff. Welcome to Torn Tuesday. Wait, they can't hear you. Hold on. Wait a sec. Wait a minute here. I fixed this last week. We went through this last week. How did things change? No, hold on. Wait for it. Wait for. All right, hold on. Default desktop audio default, and talk to me.
Hello there, can you hear me?
There you are.
in in a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. Did everybody hear that? The opening line of The Hobbit?
Yes. I want to know what the opening line is to J.R.R. Tolkien's new book, The Nature of Middle Earth.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Can you get it? Because I went to 3 bookstores this weekend. It was a long holiday weekend here in the States, and they was sold out everywhere. I went to Barnes and Noble. I went to my local bookstore. I even went to my sister's house and the bookstore near here, and they were all sold out. They're like, no, we don't have any copies left. It is sold out. Leia in the chat room says the new book is so good. Uh,
It is. There's so much to talk about. I'm really but I, I can barely scratch the surface of what's going on in this book. And I'm glad that you went out looking for it. And, hats off to you, Justin, for supporting brick and mortar bookstores. That's really good of you to support your retail bookseller that is local to you. Small bookstores for the win, everybody. Small booksellers, and I mean it, real brick and mortar stores for the win. Okay, especially.
But we still want to acknowledge Amazon's role in the legendarium, and they are the biggest bookstore in the history of the world.
Well,
This
yeah,
this is
yeah.
the ultimate conflict of feelings I have, Cliff. Like Amazon has a reputation for their business acumen, yet we have a rep the fans have a reputation of wanting to support the best small book clubs and bookstores. So,
Indeed. Well, so how many different places did you hit? How many stores did
3.
you go to?
I went to
Uh,
3 stores in 2 different zip codes. And people in the chat room are saying that they went right out after our last show and found a copy and picked it up. So that's just is I guess this is what they call influencers. Cliff, you've influenced someone to make a purchase.
no, I didn't. No, I didn't. Do you know what? Do you know who influenced someone? This man, J.R.R. Tolkien, the person, the person to whom I have dedicated most of my adult life to studying and appreciating and sharing and hopefully for pursuit of all of our better spirits. I've been able to encourage just that communication among the fans and that kind of appreciation that we all have for Tolkien. Mr. Hostetter, Mr. Carl Hostetter, also should be given a very big tip of the hat. I know that we are reaching out to him. He's the editor who worked on all these papers that were put together in this book. He's the editor, and he's been doing the rounds, talking to wonderful people, Tolkien interviews and content creators all over the place. And so I suppose we're next. Maybe we'll be a little late down the line, but I guess we're next. to have a
Wizard is
conversation.
never late. So the question is to
A
everybody
wizard is never late.
watching. I see you on Twitter, Zach. I see Andrew on YouTube. I see Kay and Sarah on Facebook, and we see Brennan on Twitch. We're streaming everywhere as we do every week. So the editor of J.R.R. Tolkien's new book, The Nature of Middle Earth, Carl Hostetter, he has been doing the rounds, and he was on all of the other Prancing Pony podcast. He recently did Nerd of the Rings and all of our favorite podcast and YouTube channels. So the question is, what do our fans want to know from Carl? And Cliff, do you have any idea? What kind of questions you'd want to ask that he probably hasn't covered already with such wonderful people in other places?
He has covered so much ground. I would like to ask him, about the interpersonal relationships with Christopher. Really, I mean, instead of getting into I would ask him about the minutia of these elements
Hey, Cliff.
Tolkien was writing about. But I'd also like to ask him about the personal side of it. Yeah.
Hey, shocking, surprising news right now. I'm going to break it to you. I haven't told you this is going to happen because I didn't even know it was going to happen. But right here in the Facebook chat is your old pal, Bruce Hopkins, straight from New Zealand.
Are you kidding me?
Gamling himself.
Hello, Mr. Bruce Hopkins. Hello, welcome to the show. I didn't see you. Is he there? Are you there, Bruce? Oh my gosh.
I see him in the chat room. He doesn't think this is live. I'm calling him out right now. He's on Facebook.
Bruce. Really? Okay, I'm not looking at that Facebook chat. I'm over here on the other chat. I'm in the YouTube chat. So hello there. Hi. It's great to have you join being in the audience and
Cliff, remind people who Bruce Hopkins is.
For those fans who've been hovering around the Lord of the Rings trilogy for over 20 years, when you watch The Two Towers, there's a character in Rohan. His name is Gamling, and Gamling was wonderfully portrayed by Bruce Hopkins. You'll see him helping King Theoden to place his armor and his gauntlets while he's doing that famous speech, "Where is the horse and the rider?" Where, Bernard Hill is, staring into the inner space of his own soul.
He dresses the king?
He's helping, of course, and he has great scenes in The Return of the King, where he's on the battlefield against the Oliphants, in The Return of the King, and he's in The Two Towers.
Bruce, if you're still there, do you want to jump on the Zoom? I'll give you the
link.
Send him the link.
If
you've got the time, I don't want to put you on the spot. But if you've got the time,
of course we do want to put him on the spot.
Wait, New Zealand is still under quarantine, I think, right now because they had a flare up. So everyone should be at home in New Zealand. But I don't want to put you on the spot. But yeah, reply in the chat there, and I'll see about DMing. Wow, this is just wonderful. Hilarious. We got so many wonderful people. Oh, here we go. He says, "Fire it through."
Excellent. We're on our way now. This is going to be a joy, an absolute joy. We have special guest star joining us. You never know when anything is going to happen here on the OneRing.net. But
all right, Bruce. I don't know if I'll be. Are we friends on Facebook, Bruce? 24 mutual friends, including Cliff Broadway. I'm gonna DM to you, but it might go into on Facebook. I'm gonna DM you the link. But I don't know if it's.
I love that. I love that in the YouTube chat, our good friend, the Dragon Demands, is saying Gamling's fate was ambiguous. We don't really ever see him get squished by an Oliphant, and we don't know where he is. We don't see him at the coronation.
I'm hearing spin-off. I'm hearing spin-off. Is that what I'm hearing?
Dude. Oh my gosh, dude. That is such an idea. That is such a great idea.
All right,
I'm so down for that.
Bruce, I've just messaged you on Facebook Messenger. I don't know if it'll get lost from Justin with the Zoom link. And this is amazing.
All right, before we get Bruce to join us in the show.
Oh, there's his email. Okay, I'm going to email you the link, Bruce. But go ahead, Cliff.
Okay, this is just amazing. The Valian year went from like 9 years to 144. That means if you're going to go with these calculations, the new calculations, the biggest like whoa number surprise is looking at the math of how old Galadriel really is.
Really? So
Yeah,
she's old. She's very old.
It makes you, but then it also puts in context a lot of Tolkien's deeper philosophizing, which is in here, about how the body and the soul, the Hroa and the Fea, are inextricably interwoven. It's really cool stuff. This is really, really cool stuff.
Well,
and do you know?
Hold that thought, Cliff. Hold that thought.
Are we bringing Bruce in? Is he here? I'm so excited about this. Actually, are we bringing Bruce in? I hear my voice.
Someone.
Kia ora, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
There he is.
All right. Oh, I'll look. This is how much of a. This is how lost in it I am. I still have that image up. Look, this is how much of a.
I think you can lower the volume on the stream and ask to start video here. Let's see if we can bring you in. Oh boy, there he is. Ladies and gentlemen, Gamling himself, Bruce Hopkins, live from New Zealand. How are you, sir?
Oh boy, there he is. Ladies and gentlemen. Kia ora.
Hey, Bruce Hopkins.
Hey.
Hello, sir.
Cool. How cool is this to see you, Cliff?
It is wonderful to see you, sir.
Hey, Justin.
Hello. Hey,
wonderful to see you.
I think the volume on the Facebook video might be a little loud. I think you can, if you close that tab for now, so we don't.
We're hearing our echo.
Right. Yes. Got it. Cool.
There you go.
I had Facebook up as well as Zoom. Yeah.
Well, very, very good. Thank you for jumping in. This is quite a pleasant surprise. Are you guys still on lockdown today?
Yeah. Auckland is on lockdown for another week. Level 4, and our level 4 is you don't go outside your neighborhood if you go out for exercise, for a walk, and things like it's. I saw a chart. An economist did a chart the other day of the severity of lockdowns that happen around the world, and New Zealand was just off the chart. The level of severity, because we still operate under the elimination, an attempt to eliminate as opposed to just lessen the impact.
Well, no matter what anyone says, I can tell you that all the smart people around here praise New Zealand for the way they've handled things. Wait, hold on. What is this?
My
gosh, Bruce.
Bruce,
you actually have the clapboard with
I've got this clapboard. I had been thinking. So here we go. Us New Zealand actors got screwed by New Line. Basically, we don't receive residuals. We don't get what we're meant to get. So I got given this by Peter Jackson on my final day of pickup shots for the third movie, and there's the most amazing man there, Andrew Lesnie. Oh, what a beautiful soul that man was, and he passed away a number of years ago. So this is such a treasure to have this. Peter gave me this and an alloy sword that I was used in some of my sort of hero shots to farewell me my last day. And I had thought about putting this on up for auction, but I still hold it too dearly. It's like,
oh my gosh, no, that's a one of a kind for a lifetime. Bruce, that is so beautiful to see Andrew's name right there.
Yeah,
Peter,
yeah.
That is so beautiful.
So this was, here we go. There it is there. 2nd of the 7th. So that's July 2nd of the 7th, 2003. That's when we were doing pickup shots for Return of the King.
Oh my gosh. Which is why it says RK X5. So Return of the King.
And the coolest thing was the night before this. So this was a little party. Each night they would have a party. It was in the Tin Shed Studios in Wellington that we were doing basically all the pickup shots. And I'd gone down a couple of days before that, and the night before that one. So that night it was a party. But it wasn't a wild party because everyone had to work the next day, all the crew and everything, because there were still other shots to be done. But each actor who was having their last shot, they would have a party for, and there'd be some, drinks and some speeches and presentations. So I went that night because I knew it was Ian McKellen and Billy Boyd's last night as well. So I was there, and when Peter got up to make the speeches, the first thing he said was, "Oh, could Bruce Hopkins come up?" And it was like, "Wow, what?" And so he gave this amazing speech about how my character was not meant to be what my character was at all, essentially, in the films, and they just loved what I was doing I was just going to be doing some stuff at Helm's Deep, and they decided to make it into this proper role. But the night before, man, I got a phone call saying, "Oh, Bruce, we'll send a car and we'll bring you out to the studio from my hotel because we're going to have a party for Elijah." It was just unreal. It was I think it was Sean, Elijah, and Andy were having, and maybe even Dom were having their last shot. So they were getting presented. It was like I was in a fairy tale. It was like when I was all through the filming. I couldn't believe I'd long given up being involved in Lord of the Rings. They brought me on board 9 months into the shoot, and so had long given up, and so every millisecond of the experience of filming was just such a joy, and then to end it with these evenings where these speeches would happen. Elijah stood up and he said, because he was 21, I think, at the time when they finished, and he said something like, I don't know how to wrap this up. This has been a fifth of my life has been working on this.
Wow, that's
Does it feel like? Oh, you go ahead, Justin. I'll get the second question.
Okay, well, this is very special because you just said like you'd given up hope that you were going to be on it, and then 9 months in, and then they expanded your role on the quality of the performance. What made this production, the physical production, so special that everyone is still talking about it 20 years later like it was the best experience of their lives? Can you, is there anything that you can narrow down that is just what made it so special?
I would say it was a combination. Look, this is terrible because it sort of feels like hijacking. I want to hear Cliff talk about the book and everything. But anyway, I think there's a couple of elements. Peter Jackson, what's he done again?
Brain dead? What's that? Brain dead?
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. What isn't Lord of the Rings and the Bible? Aren't they two of the books that'll never be able to be made movies of? So there was no expectation from outside of the J.R.R. Tolkien realm, and little did people know, especially here in New Zealand, very few people, other than Erica Chalice, who helped start, the One Ring and everything.
Known as Tehanu, using her code name Tehanu online.
Right. So, and I didn't, I wasn't a Tolkien buff or anything, but it would have been only that very small enclave of those people who understood what was going on. The rest of New Zealand was just like, oh, okay, Peter Jackson's been given, he's been given a big movie to make or whatever. So there was kind of no pressure in that world of that outside world. New Zealand was just buzzing with the fact that Ian McKellen's in town and Liv Tyler's in town. They would pop in and all of that sort of stuff. So they would be in the newspapers every now and then. And in the filming of Lord of the Rings, I didn't partake in the Hobbit. But what I gather, by the time they got to the Hobbit, it was mostly digital. It was mostly in studio. They knew they were going to make a crap load of money. So there was a lot of pressure on them. With the Lord of the Rings, that's my comment about New Line and how they screwed us New Zealand actors and we don't get our residuals that we had in our contracts that we're meant to get, etc. I will never lose respect for the fact that they stumped up and allowed Peter Jackson to make these movies. No other studio was going to do that. No other production outfit in Hollywood was going to take that gamble. So that was amazing to see that they did that. And so in a sense, there was no kind of expectation in Peter. When I used to go down, fortunately, because I was always shooting with Bernard Hill, I would tend to be in shots where Peter Jackson would be our director. So we'd be in the mountains in the South Island, Queenstown, and then Wellington. And what I observed, I would sit back when I wasn't in a shot. I'd get a cup of coffee or something, and I'd sit back in a chair and I'd just watch. And I saw a boy playing, and that was Peter. He was like a boy. He was like a young boy playing in the most magnificent playpen sandpit that you could ever have. You know, he must have had so much pressure on him. He was working, that dude was working probably 15, 16 hours a day. But I personally never saw him exhibit any form of anger or frustration, or I just saw him having laughs. Him and Andrew Lesnie. Andrew Lesnie he was such a joyous human being. And then, you know, when you get to work with people like Viggo and Bernard, and they were just such wonderful. They were such an amazing family. They were just a complete family together.
That's what I was getting at. That's exactly what I was going to ask you a moment ago when Justin and I were trying to ask at the same time. But it is about family. It was always about treating everybody like family on that project. Is that true? Am I just speaking out of turn and saying that we got a big sense of that when we were thousands and thousands of miles away, and the fandom was just reaching out to you on the internet, and we got a sense a long time ago that you all treated each other like a family unit on that production. Is that fair? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. I think everyone, but especially by the time I came on board, they kind of realized that this was a unique experience going on. Like Peter was making stuff up. They were making it up, man. Bernard came to me as we were about to wrap on the main production, not on the pickup years, but Bernard came to me at one point and he was like, "Oh, Bruce, I've come up with an idea for your death." So at Pelena Fields. So I've put it to Peter, and he's pretty keen on it. So it was going to be a scene. He didn't tell me the exact rollout of it, but it was like he would come in to try and help be involved, and then he would ride off, and then of course he dies. So, but it gave a conclusion to this character, Gamling, who's not in the books, other than the name Gamling the Old, of course. So it was really cool, and I was excited because, you know, I knew the impact of Craig Parker's beautiful death scene.
Yeah.
I want a death scene.
Yeah. Cliff, you used the word family, but the chat room says it's actually a fellowship. So it's all a fellowship. But I gotta ask.
But we do have a big YouTube friend of ours who has said that your death is ambiguous. Is there something we missed to find your death scene, or is the difference between the theatrical cut and the extended edition of it?
No, yeah, there was no death scene. There was
right.
No.
So
Bernard, you know, mentioned this to me, and then I don't know how much longer it was. It was a number of days later or whatever. He came back and said, I've just heard like they've come back to Peter, because as I say, it was towards the end of the production, the main shoot, and they'd said, no more new material. No more new scenes. Stop. The budget has stopped.
Well, oh my gosh. Okay, seriously, then, you know what? I'm glad that Justin said this earlier. I smell a spinoff. Yes, it's time for the Gamling spinoff series.
Yeah, I'm still alive. If you, I walked to Aotearoa, 3,000 kilometer tramp from Cape Reinga to Bluff 4 years ago.
In 2017. Yeah. Now, I was going to ask you to tell us about that. You did that to raise money for the charity.
Yeah.
And
well, I did it to find myself. I did it to place myself in this country. I've always felt, where am I from? What is this? A lot of New Zealanders, as soon as they left university, especially, they would head overseas to England. It's like, oh, this is the big OE. This is to go and see your roots. And I never felt that. I've always felt, I'm from here, man. I'm from this place.
Yeah.
And,
so what does it mean?
As I was doing Te Araroa, I've got some videos. I was the most useless videographer during my tramp, but I've got a bunch of videos up on YouTube. It's called Taking the Long Way Home. And it's my 6.5-month odyssey of walking Te Araroa. It's 3,000 kilometers through the mountains and all the forests and everything. And about 4 occasions, I would click and I'd go, oh, come on, man, make some reference to Middle Earth, because there's beautiful sections in some of the. There's a place called the Tararuas in the southern end of the North Island that you have these moss-covered trees. You would swear you're in a goblin. It's called the Goblin Forest. And but I started doing things where I would see a bit of a bit of animal crap on the ground or whatever, and so I was like, oh. And I did this one video where I said I did some rebirthing, and it turns out I was a guy called Gamling, and I helped save Middle Earth all these millennia ago, and I'm having these flashbacks and doing Te Araroa, and now I see this feces. This is orc feces. I know it's orc feces. And I go down and have a little smell, and it's definitely, I'm flashing back. This is orc feces. They're here. They're still alive.
According to top experts on the internet, which you can never trust but always trust, Frodo and Sam's journey was about 2,300 kilometers in total. So, and you're saying did you walk more than that?
3,000 kilometers.
Yeah. If you go by road, New Zealand is around 1,450 kilometers one end to the other by the main highway, the road. But on Te Araroa, was opened in 2011, created by a guy, Jeff Chappell, most amazing guy. Spent 20 years trying to connect up existing trails and tracks and permissions through private land, et cetera. And it's now one of the world's great walks. So I hadn't been a tramper, but when I heard about it, I was emceeing a fundraiser for the Green Party here in New Zealand, actually, for the 2017 election. And I had to introduce this guy, Jeff Chappell. And in reading his bio, he had spent all these years helping create the legacy that is, Te Araroa. And as soon as I read that, it was like, oh, there's my missing jigsaw. That's the key. There's the key that unlocks the door for me to know where I'm from. So so that was it's 3,000 kilometers, approximately 3,000 kilometers.
Have you considered writing a book on your adventure or anything like that? Do you write?
Yeah, I'm at the moment, I'm trying to create a presentation. Cliff said earlier on that I had done it to raise money. So initially it was about me. And then I kind of went, you know what, this can't be just about me. And then I realized I can walk some of my father and brother's ashes, because we are from Stewart Island originally, just off the southern tip of New Zealand.
Oh, that is where that is. Yeah.
Yeah, and our family had moved to the far north when us kids were little, and I was a cray fisherman off the far north end of New Zealand. So suddenly it clicked. It was like, oh, I can carry some of my father and brother's ashes home. I can take them home.
Nice.
And then the next one, there were 4 things. The next one was, you know what? I've got 3 grandchildren now. So if my grandchildren only remember one thing about me, and it is that I walked the length of New Zealand, then that'll do. That I'm more than happy with that. And then it was okay. I gotta try and help some other people as well. So I fundraised for an organization called Grandparents Raising Grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the process of trying to create a stage presentation to be able to take around New Zealand eventually and show people this astounding country we live in, because a lot of people have never gone into the back country, into the mountains and the forests like this. And so I want to show them where they live, and also tell the story. And any box office or any income that's earned through doing that presentation, there would be a percentage of it that will ongoingly go to grandparents raising grandchildren.
That
sounds
sounds
fantastic.
amazing.
That's fantastic.
If you got a couple more minutes, I've always wanted to know, in
I've got all
1998,
day.
1998, 99, 2000, when you were filming Lord of the Rings, and the pickups even later, Titanic had already come out and made $1 billion and became the biggest movie in history. Were there any jokes about working with the captain of the Titanic on set?
No. I actually, I don't know in amongst the that existing core group whether those guys had any of that, because I would say I think Bernard came on a bit later too. Like the really core fellowship had been working together pre-production,
Mm-hmm.
and then Bernard would have come in a little bit after the production had started, I imagine, as well. But they totally, him and Viggo, man, they shared a hey, I'll grab you another little memento.
Oh boy, yeah.
Well, we have to see that.
Cliff,
we have
this
to
is
see
amazing.
It's wonderful. There's never a dull moment around here when we have these spontaneous visits from wonderful people. You know what? I want to say, oh wow.
This was the sign that was on the. I used to turn up, because I wasn't there every day. So when they'd get a hold of me and say, "Oh, Bruce, can we get you down to the South Island next week or whatever?" I would be in Liv Tyler's camper van if she had bailed, or I would be in some other thing. So they'd put, this would be my sign on my door, and invariably, like especially down in Queenstown, I would be parked across from where Viggo and Bernard shared a camper van. They had a proper bus with their makeup in it and stuff. And so you could tell they got up to mischief in their camper van, but they did this. They took this, and without telling me or anything, they took it and they got all the others to sign it. They got all these people to sign it and everything.
Yeah,
and,
I can recognize Dominic's handwriting where he is saying, "Bruce, kiss my face." That's Dominic Monaghan. And look,
so that was off the camper van, but the
it's beautiful.
The van that Viggo, I might be divulging a little bit too much here. The van that Viggo and Bernard had, I don't know how it got the name, but it was called the Cunty Bago.
What? Whoa!
The Cunty Bago. It was like
Okay.
I guess a derivative of Winnebago, but
that's okay. Wow. Okay.
The funny part is, right before you said that, someone in the chat room said, "Wow, this is a wholesome conversation."
Sorry for lowering the tone. And may I just mention now another one of the, because let's get back to, I feel like I'm intruding here.
No. We talked all about that book last week. We went deep into that book last week. So this is amazing to talk to you.
It's wonderful.
So that man there, Quick Beam, young Cliff Broadway, that's the spin-offs for me. I started getting invited to these conventions around the world and things, and getting to meet Cliff and spend time. Cliff and I have had some really cool sessions together through this fellowship.
Remember that music when I'm not musical at all, and your musical friend invited us over to his house? That was when that was when Donna, my friend from the One Ring, had brought me over to New Zealand, and then we were having a jam session. I had no idea at first that you were so musically inclined, Mr. Bruce Hopkins. I'm going to reveal a secret. Maybe the audience doesn't want to know, but they really should know. This man has many, many talents. He's been on New Zealand radio. He has raised money for grandparents raising grandchildren with that amazing 2017 experience of hiking across the country, thousands of kilometers. He's got bigger set of cojones than I could ever have, and he has raised a wonderful family. His son is an exemplary athlete, wonderful person, great guy. And you know what, Bruce, the fans in the live chat are going nuts, and especially Andrew, I see you, sir. I have to tell you, now that Warner Brothers is going back to do this animation of the War of the Rohirrim, let's get you in single file to do a voice and do some great voice work, maybe, for the animation feature film they're going to do. You've heard about that, right?
I would love to. I would love to.
Imagine.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool.
Because it is, as I say, it's a joyous, you know, I don't know, how do you guys divide your lives up? Do you, like Justin, do you consider chapters or like this?
Yeah, I compartmentalize everything, and then I have chapters of, and you can definitely feel like when a transition is happening, and it's like, all right, I've got to let go of some things of the past and you know, adjust for the new future that we're in. And the pandemic kind of brought that all home for me and for a lot of people, of like, all right, who do we want to be in the next phase of life coming out of this pandemic? And that is forced many of us to, me included, to, you know, learn new skills. And, you know, and I know several actors and performers here in Los Angeles that practiced voices, you know, because, you know, animation is such a booming business and stuff like that. So this is, it is a fascinating thing. And I do think, like, you know, with your musicianship and your radio experience, and have you are a capable and quality voice performer.
Yes, I you know, it's a classic thing. I doubt myself all the time. Because I see so many people who are really talented, and I think it's a really interesting thing. I watch some young actors and everything, and you know, I didn't start acting until I was 30. I'd been a dancer. I was actually a dancer before that. I left crayfishing to become a dancer.
I told you, kids, he's a multi-hyphenate. A crayfisherman, musician, a dancer, a bloody dancer. Keep going.
My family had no connection to theater or anything, the culture, that sort of cultural aspect of life. And so when at the age of 22, I saw a professional dance company rehearsing live, and I was just gobsmacked. I'd been into rugby and athletics more up until then, but so physical, but not this thing called dance, and doing it to the most amazing music. They were doing it to a piece by Dave Brubeck called Take 5, the most stunning piece of jazz. And so I was hooked, and it was a bit like deciding to walk Te Aroa. There was no decision-making process went on. It was just like, I've got to have a go. And so I set about becoming a professional dancer. And I was fortunate because it was in an era where very few men, you know, especially kind of stronger, fit, able guys were wanting to pursue that kind of thing. So I had it's kind of nice road into it, but I had to put the work in, obviously. So it was, well, why did I start that rave? The dance, we went into that one. What we have to be aware of, it was me going off on tangents.
It's because you were saying that you were surprised perhaps that you got into acting at 30, which is, you know what, there's like a gateway.
That's right. That's right.
Gateways of life. Yeah.
That's what it is. So I see so many actors who are just, we've got a couple of guys here at the moment in New Zealand. Honestly, man, if you get a chance to see them, check out Tom Sainsbury. He's blown up. He does these daily things online, just absolutely superb. And Chris Parker does on Instagram, does daily postings. Chris and Tom, they're just brilliant. And I look at them and I just go, oh man, they're so good. They're so good. But and they're not the ones I was necessarily talking about, because the ones I would look at are people who can do impressions, and they can do a Jim Carrey, or they can be a this actor or that role or that character. And I've never been that sort of actor. But what I do know is, like what happened with Lord of the Rings, I've had enough experiences now where I'm asked to do 1 day or 2 days or a couple of scenes, and then the project, whoever's running the project, kind of goes, "Oh, we like that. We might make your role a little bit bigger." And so I like doing stuff that way, where it's a kind of organic process, as opposed to I'm trying to imitate something or yeah.
Well, as we all look to the future, Cliff, we got to come up with a hashtag like "Get Bruce on Rohirrim" or something like that, and
yeah,
start the internet campaign. But Bruce, as long as you're here, like
hashtag, here it is. I got it. It's hashtag Gamling returns.
Ooh.
Gamling returns.
Well, Amazon just finished their first season of their huge Lord of the Rings series, and a lot of the actors, in fact, most of them, are new to film. A lot of them come from stage, or they're just new actors, or they're young actors. So, as someone that took a small part and elevated it, and by elevating it, you got a bigger presence, what tips do you have for all these newcomers coming into the Middle Earth production?
I would say be humble. Be humble. You're stepping into something that is already there, that, especially on a production that size, hundreds, if not over 1,000 people have been putting in incredibly hard yards to get to the moment where you now step into. So in a sense, know your place, be humble, and just observe, see what the energy is like. Like one of the things I do when I am filming something, there are a number of actors who don't like to watch what they're doing. So they won't go to the monitor when they've shot a scene and can I have a look at that? I won't do it. I won't do it throughout a production unless I feel like I'm a little bit, not sure about what I've just done. But when I start a production, what I do like to do is, the very first time a director has and know that they've chosen you, so have that confidence for a start. I didn't, I'm the worst at that in a sense, but know that you're there for a reason. They just chose you. And there were other people being considered, so you're, have that confidence that to bring what you can bring, because they chose you. But what I like to do when I've had my first shot, when I've done my first scene where the director has gone and cut, buy that, we'll buy that. So that one's that's a taker. They're gonna be putting that in the mix as one of the potential scenes. So I will quite often go to the video, the split. There's a person who will have they'll be recording every take, and they'll be I'll go over to them usually and just sidle over at some point when I see that they have a little bit of spare time, and I will say, is there any chance I can have a look at that scene that they just bought of mine? Because what it is, it's not going to be the start of your journey in that production. So it's probably going to be 10 days later, or whatever. What was my first one? I can't remember on Lord of the Rings. Oh no, yeah, it was Helm's Deep. So then they made my character. I came back in much earlier. So, but at Helm's Deep, I get to go and I'll see if I can have a look, because what it means is I can have a look at the energy that my character was playing at, and for that particular scenario. So here we are, we're about to do battle, and this is what Gamling looks like when the director said, and yep, cut, we'll buy that one. So now that's my marker. That's my marker. So when I'm back in the caves, or when I'm back, before the battle, I know the energy level that I am at in battle. So where's my energy as I'm preparing for battle, or where's the energy after the battle? You know, dependent on what that energy was that you carried into that shot. So that's one little thing that I like to do.
That's really cool. That's very, very cool. I was going to ask about the way that the pandemic has been affecting the productions.
Sorry, and also trust the director. If the director says cut, let's buy that. Have faith that you did okay, because they've just bought it. I'm as I say, I'm a self-doubter. So I'll immediately go and go, oh shit, was that? Oh. And then I just go, no.
After all that self-agonizing, after you get to the premiere and you see the final product, doesn't that provide you with this immense relief at the end?
Yeah, it was pretty cool to be in amongst that, for sure. You know, and it's tiny. My role's tiny, but it's what I realize over the years is actually, you know, it's not tiny in a sense. It's a I call myself now a lead support role.
Yeah.
The courage to say I'm a lead support role. I'm not just not a featured extra.
Not at all. No. You had way more presence and way more dialogue than some of your other fellow Kiwi actors who played one of the 13 dwarves, who had less dialogue and less impact as a character over 3 films, even though they were in the company of Thorin Oakenshield, and you managed to do way better. I was just gonna,
one of the things I felt really cool about was when I did see the movies, I realized, oh wow, almost all of my stuff is in there. Like a lot of actors, unfortunately, 80% of their stuff is on the cutting room floor, but pretty much all of the stuff that I was brought in to do is up there, which was like, wow, cool.
All hits, no misses. Look at this guy. This guy's rock star.
I love it. I'm gonna be a huge advocate for you to do a voice in the War of the Rohirrim, because if they're going to go that far back in time, they might even have the original character in the story for some weird reason or another of Gamling the Old, and you could play your own ancestor from that timeline. You could be kind of the way that Luke Evans got to play his own ancestor in the Hobbit films, where he played
that's right.
He played the King of Dale.
This has been a real treat. Thank you for jumping in to the Facebook chat and just jumping on the Zoom. The fans are everyone in the chat room is like, Gambling's a household name in their house. like you made an impression in your limited screen time, but you've made the ultimate impression that people absolutely know your character and recite all of your lines verbatim. That must mean something.
Yeah, there's it was really cool going to some of the conventions and having people come up and say, you know what, my favorite scene is when Theoden is reciting that bit of prose as I dress him for battle, basically. And so, you know, I get to have a couple of lines of dialogue with him because he asked me, who am I, Gamling? You know, and it was just, that was such a buzz to shoot that scene too. It was because it was so intimate. It was just Peter, you know, and Andrew, and Bernard and myself, and it was pretty amazing to see how it came out, how they created that to look on screen.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, we don't want to take all your time, but I'd love to have you back soon, because it sounds like you're very aware, as Sean Astin is. We've talked to Sean Astin about some of the union issues that were involved in Lord of the Rings and in general, and we'd love to expand on a conversation maybe where we can talk about, you know, some of these filmmaking and union and rules and residuals and Amazon leaving for Scotland, because I think all of it ties together, and it sounds like you kind of keep up on some of this stuff.
Yeah, I would really appreciate your insights as well, Bruce. That would be great to have a future.
I was on the board of Actors Equity for about 12 years.
Oh,
And
well,
so you're the guy to talk to.
yeah.
You're
So right
definitely the guy
through
to
the
talk.
Hobbit, right through the Hobbit ordeal too. You know, when an actor who wasn't even on the board, but who came in, she was one of New Zealand's most high profile actors at the time, and she came on board to support us, and she received a death threat. You know, so that's how crazy it got here during that time.
Oh, we have to have a whole entire new episode dedicated to this can of worms, because it could be more holistically tied to our new perspective that we're getting about Amazon Studios' decision to leave after 1 year and then pack up and go to the UK. I mean, it's all the ramifications of that. I would really love to do a deeper talk with you about that in the near future. If you'd like, that'd be great.
It would be cool. You know, there are people who had a fantastic, probably 18 months work or whatever through that, but there are also people who got seriously disrupted in their lives because they moved their life to be here. You know, these are craftspeople who moved their industry essentially to that location because this was a 5-year deal.
That's what we've been hearing, and so let's save that for a future conversation, because I feel like I need to do my homework, so I'm not talking out of turn, because these are heavy subjects, but top of mind to you.
The live chat, the live chat is saluting you. There's so many people just so thrilled that you came in here spontaneously, and you're welcome. You know, we keep saying this every week. If anybody wants to come in and join the show, come on board, and I'm glad you did. I really am. And
I would say that the joy that I experienced shooting, you know, the experience of shooting the movies, the fellowship, the global fellowship, that I got to meet through coming to the conventions and everything, and through the fan scenarios, like even just online like this, that's it's such a joy. It's, man, give me that. You know, like if you want to take it into an absurdist level, would you rather have OneRing.net or Taliban, or would you rather have, you know, or the military machine, or of the global, you know? Give me this realm any day.
We're all just fans of the films, but at the end of the day, we're all fans of Tolkien and what he brought into this world, and what you were enabled through his writing, translated by, you know, Philippa and Fran and Peter, and your performance is just one of those shining moments of, like, I can imagine, like, this is what Tolkien had in his mind's eye, and the emotion of that scene is brought to weight, and I think it's recognized worldwide. You've seen it at all the conventions, and we look forward to all of the conventions coming back in the near future. Maybe next year we'll all be post-pandemic, who knows, but I know the fans want to meet you again, and it sounds like you want to be in front of crowds again, so we're all just looking forward to getting through this as fast as possible.
Yes, we are.
Was my ego shining through?
Not at all. Not at all. But hey,
ego stroke.
No, but I mean, this is like an absolute shared experience for all of us. And that's something about the internet being this peculiar beast that it is that we have this appreciation of Tolkien and this marvelous, wide-eyed experience that Peter Jackson and company and everybody who worked with him brought us, this very surprising and effective and powerful adaptation of Tolkien that we have never seen in cinema quite like that, on that scale, spread out year over year over year. Kind of like when back in the day of the Richard Wagner had an opera that was so long, the audiences would have to go back to the opera house several different nights to experience the entire performance of, you know, the opera, the Ring cycle, the Ring of the Nibelungen, as you know. And so here we go, Peter Jackson challenging worldwide audiences to be that patient and to have that kind of presence to come back and come back and come back year after year. It became, and your presence in the film, it became such a big statement, such a never-ending piece of popular culture that here we are, decades later, having a great, great time sharing this beautiful memory box of sweet stories and the remembrance of family and the remembrance of creativity, you know, and those who are now lost, like Andrew. And of course, you're such a great performer and a good friend of us in the community. I can't thank you enough for coming back to join us again. There's going to be so much more in store. So much more.
Can I ask a favor before, you know, because I say to people, so I want you experts, you guys can tell me either stop saying that from now on, or yes, no, that's around about it. But Tolkien, because I read one of the biographies of Tolkien, probably, I don't know, 5-6 years ago or so, just gobsmacked to understand, you know, obviously linguistics was his first, that was his passion, linguistics. What I understood was he learned the language of Finnish to be able to fully understand Beowulf.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is that right? Because Beowulf was written in Finnish originally. So
yeah, he studied the Icelandic ancient poems, and then he dug deep into the Finnish, the Kalevala.
Such was his commitment that he learned a language to do that, blah, blah. Then he decides he wants to write a language, to create a language. So he creates Elvish. And then, in order to justify a language, there has to be a world.
Yep, exactly.
From which that the genesis of that language evolves. And so that's what Middle Earth was. And so is that right?
Yep, that's exactly right. You've crystallized it beautifully. That's a beautiful crystallization. Yeah.
Every time I tell people that, it fries my brain to think what I try to picture, you know, it's a bit like trying to comprehend what was in Einstein's head. You know, like how does your hard drive function when that's how you can do something?
I read also somewhere that Professor Tolkien, through his lifetime, invented 16 or 17 languages, and many of them had alphabet systems. Some were borrowed alphabets that were reworkings of old Anglo-Saxon runes, and some were original alphabets that he created himself. And then he got meta level, and Tolkien said that the character Feanor was the brilliant mind who created the language of the elves, which is kind of like, you know, this commentary of a burning, creative, powerful, creative energy that gets a little too hot. And also is, you know, he commented in a meta way on his own creativity by using his characters, creating that within the world of the world he had created. So it's that level. I love it. I love all that stuff. I love that stuff.
And the other thing that Tolkien did is he specifically refused the advance from his publisher, so they couldn't give him a deadline to publish. So he took his time.
yeah. Like more than 15 or 16 years to write the Lord of the Rings. Long process.
Hey, before we go, I want to take a picture of that clapperboard because I just love it. So can you hold it up again?
Yes.
Well, in fact, I can tell you that because I came back, I would Lord of the Rings came out. My children were just coming into their teenage years, so I wasn't going to move to LA and hope that I can crack it there and, you know, starting again over there with a really good intro. But because I went to some nice functions over there and everything, but it was like, no, I want to be with my kids, man. I only get them once. So,
I appreciate that.
So yeah, and so I came back after going to some conventions, and it was like my career in New Zealand. I've had hardly any work, literally, in the last 20 years. So I was like, well, how do I make a living? And then I realized, all those Lord of the Rings people, they're coming. So I'll become a tour guide. So I got my my heavy traffic licenses, and I joined the Pro Guides Association, etc. So I would do tours around New Zealand. Only ever did one Lord of the Rings specific tour. In fact, I just enjoyed. I became a tour guide, and I loved it. This country's amazing to tour around and show people. And so a couple of times I would remember to take this. And so a couple of my tour groups have videos of themselves where they can start a video going and action. And here they are, Middle Earth.
That's fantastic. I love it.
That is amazing.
That's so cool. You know what? I love it. Bruce, I'm so glad you came in to join us. And you said you're working on your presentation about the trail and getting it like more recognized. Let's get all of our friends at the Te Papa National Museum to help you. Let's get them on board. That would be great to see a coalition to make it like
more connected. You're more connected than I am.
No, I don't even know who they are. I'm talking on the internet so that when they watch this, I want them to watch this. Hey, all you people at the Te Papa National Museum, let's make this like a national trail effort. Let's expand this. I think that Bruce, you're onto something quite special. I think it's great.
Justin,
Yeah.
Have you got the facility to be able to share my screen? Oh, I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I quickly share?
Let me see. Let me enable it. Hold on. All participants. All right, you should be able to host now.
Sorry, I've got this. I've got my neck gaiter on. I had an ocean swim this morning. I ocean swim all year round, and it's winter at the moment, so I just went for
well,
a
you
dip
can
in
say
the
COVID
ocean.
too. You can say COVID. It's your COVID mask.
COVID. So, did you say I can share my screen now?
Yeah. Try sharing it now.
So this is part of that in the Tararua Ranges heading down to Wellington. I just thought I'll try and show you the Goblin Forest.
Oh,
so
wow!
This is what you're walking in.
That's beautiful.
People! I gotta tell you, in the chat room, people are saying in the chat room, I have this big, huge smile on my face. Thank you for this appearance so much, Mr. Hopkins. Look
at this forest, and you show me the trail. What you're looking for is a little orange marker on some trees. Sometimes there's a marker, and this is a ridge line. This is a ridge line there. Look,
that's otherworldly. That is so otherworldly. It is so strange looking. Wow,
it's just amazing. I mean,
is that Mirkwood?
Oh, here's a video. Will this play?
That does look like Fangorn Forest.
Oh yeah, it's playing. Wow.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
I think I talked about Middle Earth here.
Is this where you take on your tour guide efforts?
No. This takes you 3 days to tramp into this.
Yeah, I imagine.
And you've got your food on your back.
That is extraordinary. It is like walking into the real version of Fangorn. And the live chat is blowing up. And our friend Irwandi, she says there really are Ents in that place.
So this is where that is. This is where that is. You're up on these ridges.
Wow.
Oh my God, Bruce, take us there. We need to make a TV show, like they said in the chat. Gamling. It takes us to Middle Earth. That is the TV show. We have to do it.
I would so love to. That's what I'm trying to do with my presentation. See down there? That's the little hut that I stayed in that night on my own. And then a storm blew in. And the next day I had to go over the peak of this mountain here. And I see there's the tree line. So you're hitting into the alpine, subalpine up there. And so I had a fall the next day down about a 2-meter rock face where I've only recently seen something online where someone's talked about this like when you die and come back and die and come back. I was looking at the thing on hallucinogenics actually, and it totally described what I experienced when I had this fall that only lasted about 2 seconds. But I went into this whole other, it was like I was on the inside of a kaleidoscope, absolute peace, tranquility, just colors, just wow, just unbelievable. Wow. I don't think I had my eyes open. It couldn't have been any more than 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And then I stopped and my pack must have snagged on a rock. And I was on this ridgeline about to go over. I was about to end my life. Wow. And And
oh my gosh.
it was just the most astounding experience. So
where did you say the Goblin Forest was, on the North Island or the South Island?
the Tararuas. So these are the huts. This is the hut. This is that hut that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just there for hikers.
So yeah. New Zealand has an amazing. This is the North Island. Not so much in the North Island, the huts, although there are a good network of huts in this particular area. But in the South Island in particular, it's incredible. The hut network all through the mountains and the forests. So yeah, I'd love to do something with that clip.
So you'll appreciate this. Our mutual friend Dennis, I don't think you know him, but a local guy that's been a friend of Torn for years. This year he decided to hike the Pacific Crest Trail, which is the same distance. It's about 3,000 miles.
It's further. It's further.
Yeah, it's a little further. So he reached the Frodo limit, which is 1,800 miles or so, and then I don't know if it's making news over there, but the entire west is on fire of brush fires, and they kicked him off the trail and said, "You cannot hike through this smoke. You will die from smoke if you continue to." So he's off the trail now for the last month because there's too much smoke in the mountains because they're all on fire, all from Tahoe all the way to the Canadian border. It's amazing.
It's devastating.
Wow.
So
we get news clips showing the fires every now and then. We haven't been seeing much recently, but just to hear that, so it's obviously, yeah, it would be ongoing. There's no way they're putting those out. They're going to have to.
No, they just they just let it burn. They protect like the city areas as much as they can. Like they just protected Tahoe, Lake Tahoe, the city area, which was a mighty feat. But they just let the hills burn. But you know, if I'm sure there are many war stories for all you epic long hikers that can walk for 6 months at a time. That's amazing. Anyway, I don't want to take any more of your time. We're going to have you back in the near future to talk more about the business of filmmaking. But Bruce Hopkins, Gamling himself, thank you for jumping in the chat. Surprisingly.
Oh man, thank you so much. I apologize because I was thinking I just when I do this thing each night, just after the news, the 6 o'clock news, about 7 o'clock, I get my phone, I put it on a little stand, and I go outside. I'd seen this in the initial lockdowns last year somewhere around the world, so I started going out, and I just rent a little. I call it my hobbit hole. Actually, this is my hobbit hole. But look what I do with my hobbit hole. I surround myself with beautiful art.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's great. I love it.
When I feel I can afford it, I buy another piece of art. And so I love my little hobbit hole. But I go out to the gate from this rented property on the street out here at night at 7 o'clock, and I applaud for about 2 minutes. I applaud the essential workers, especially the essential workers here at the moment, but around the world.
Yeah. And we used to do that here once upon a time. Yeah.
So that's why I started. I saw from you guys in the States doing it. And so that's one of my little things I do here. But so I came on to see what because I sometimes ask if people want me to mention a particular essential worker, I'll do it. And so I went on to Facebook just before to see if there were any responses from last night's clapping. My connection drops out there and everything. Even when I'm using mobile data, it's shonky as. But here you guys were. I had this feed, and there's no way I thought this was live at this time of day here in New Zealand. It's midday. So what time is it for you?
It is 6 o'clock, 6:09 p.m. in the evening.
Okay.
Here on the West Coast.
So I thought this must be just a video that you've posted. So this is mind blowing. This has just been so cool. Like I say, because Cliff, here's a distance hug.
Oh, I'm hugging you back. Thank you, brother. I missed you.
Here's a distance hug.
So great to have you here. Thank you, buddy. You know what? I tell you what. Before we let you go, and we are ready to close the show, a very special acknowledgement to the live audience who's still with us, and they're going bonkers right now, saying following things. Definitely come back, Bruce. So good to see you again. Thank you, Ellen. And our dear friend Nancy, who's with us on staff at theonering.net. Thank you, Bruce. This was awesome. It is so heartwarming to hear your passion and enthusiasm 20 years later. That's from Winter's Lady. Matthew Hughes, impromptu Hopkins, fire. That's it. Impromptu Hopkins, fire emoji. Fire. You're fired, dude. This is so great. Everyone's having a wonderful time and saying thank you for joining us. And I will second that emotion. Thank you for being with us. But we do got to close her down and move on. Now that we know that this is a nice compatible time frame for you, please come and join us. We have other New Zealand actors who we know. Dallas, who was Bill Fernie Sr. in The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. And we have other people can join us and we can share some interesting concepts. We'll share a whole talk about everything. Yeah,
I think the next conversation is more into the actors equity stuff that you were talking about. So if there's other people that we should have in that conversation, and God, this just fascinating. Anyway, Bruce, this is so much fun. This is so much fun. Thank you.
Back at you.
Thank you,
and
sir.
as you say, to everyone who's involved in the chat or just watching this and stuff too. So sorry if it's been a little bit egocentric.
Not at all.
It's not at all.
But it is probably a really good example of how much impact the experience had on me that it will never leave me. It's a bit like doing the walk to Aotearoa. I'm there every day. I'm on Te Aotearoa every day, even though it's 3.5 years since I did it.
That's fantastic. And for those people who need a spelling check, it is T-E, next word, A-R-A-R-O-A, and it's pronounced Te Araroa Trail.
And if you want, go to YouTube and just search Taking the Long Way Home.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Taking the long way home. That's right.
And is your tour guide services called Camping with Gamling?
Oh, we forgot. We can't end the show just yet. Bruce, I know you've been here for a wonderful visit with me in Los Angeles, but in less than 2 weeks' time, we're going to have our big public gathering on September 18th, and it is the celebration of Bilbo Baggins' birthday. And everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. It is our Baggins birthday bash, and it is public, out in the open air and the flowing mountain breezes in Griffith Park, right here in Los Angeles.
I met you one time because I think Sala Baker brought me one time when I was over there.
Yeah, he did. Yes, Sala loves coming to the picnic. It's a bring your own style of potluck. Anybody just brings anything they want to bring, and believe it or not, there's a mountain of creativity. There are always costumes, entertaining people, and yard games and trivia games and musical instruments. It's a Tolkien gathering. So I'm excited, and I wish that I could pop you on the magic carpet and have you over here on September 18th. Bruce, I wish I could do that. I would love to have you.
Thank you. Man,
all right, Cliff, take us out, Cliff.
It's time to say goodnight, everybody. And, like Captain Picard taught us once, all good things must come to an end. It has been a really lovely surprise with Gamling himself, Bruce Hopkins, singer, dancer, musician, fancy pants. This guy, he's the guy. I love Bruce Hopkins, and he just had a great surprise visit. And thank you for being with us, Mr. Hopkins. I love you so much. And Justin, thank you for pushing all the electronic buttons and making it work. To our live audience,
that's what I'm here
at
for.
The One Ring.
Oh, we just lost Cliff.
Oh no! Bye. No. What do you mean you can't hear me? I can hear myself just fine. I can just say good night and good luck. You can hear me? All right. Well, then maybe in the YouTube archive they'll hear this. I want to say, everybody, join us next week on Torn Tuesday. Until then, buenas noches y buena suerte. Bye, everybody.